Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 25 of Season 5 of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Bass Pro Shops 500 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, as we're getting set for 40 laps of racing here at this mile-and-a-half racetrack. Now, before we take a look at the starting lineup, we've got to take a look at how the points look, as after this race, we only got one regular season race left before the chase begins. So the top 10 currently, Joshua Collard leads by 22 points over Carson Gum. Third is Dylan Jacobs. Fourth, Kyle Matthews. Fifth, Benjamin Miles. Sixth is Jake Rogers. Seventh, Paul Minnick. Eighth, Dougie Shears. Ninth, Alex Strayton. 10th, James McLeod. Now, there are quite a few drivers behind James McLeod that are in the hunt to try and get into the top 10 in points. In fact, 11th through 17th are only behind by 18 points. So we got Chris Dollerton, Dylan Thoreau, Emmanuel Hartnett, James Shelley, Sean Galligan, Dylan Young, and last week's winner, Jay Jefferson, all in contention. Then you got four drivers behind them that are sort of long shots: Dylan Poteet, DJ Curtis, Preston Plord, and Zachary Fitzwater. But as far as drivers who are pretty much locked into the chase, only two are very much locked in: Joshua Collard and Carson Gum. Dylan Jacobs, who is over, as I'm trying to double check the points here, is actually over 60 points ahead of the 10th spot, so he's going to try and hope to finish strong in the top 15 today in hopes of getting himself locked into the chase next week at Darlington. But let's take a look at the starting lineup. Starting in the last row is Diego Yepez and James Qualls. Top 10 starting lineup: Tim Fiegel is on the pole for today. Starting next to him is Cullen Francis. Row 2 will comprise of Dylan Poteet, Cody Lamas. Row 3, Dylan Thoreau, Paul Minnick. Row 4, Dylan Jacobs, Anthony McCrory. And then row 5, two Texas boys, Carson Gum and Trent Dunham. But let's go ahead and get the command to fire engines for the Bass Pro Shops 500 at Atlanta.
Drivers, start your engines.
All 40 drivers on the racetrack for their one pace lap here. Now, this race, like I said, is going to be one of the big do-or-die races, including Darlington next week, considering that we are getting closer and closer to the chase. And like I said before, yeah, Collard and Gum are pretty much locked into the chase, so they don't really have anything to lose. But from third on back, they're going to have to try and play conservatively to try to keep themselves afloat. And in the case of, say, Dylan Jacobs, who's third in points, if he can come through with a top 15 finish, I believe he's going to be pretty much locked in going into Darlington next week in the regular season finale. But the pace car is pulling into pit road, so you know what time it is, don't you? That is right, it is time to boogity 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 go racing. Well, Tim Fiegel going to get that extra bonus point for leading a lap right there, as he has a slim lead over Dylan Poteet and Dylan Thoreau, who are behind him. And then it's a bit of a hornet's nest from fourth on back. Carson Gum and Joshua Collard, the top two in points, are racing each other. as Ethan Hoffman actually is going to get some spots. And now here comes Rafael Leduc with a run to the inside. That would be for the 6th position. And look at Dylan Young go. Yeah, there are quite a few drivers who are either in the top 10 or in the outside of the top 10 that are trying to move their way up through the field. So it seems like to some of those drivers, it's pretty much now or never. Even though we still got one race left, and that is the Southern 500 next week at Darlington. But Tim Fiegel so far has led every lap. Nobody's been able to make a move on him, at least not just yet. As things are starting to get a little bit settled out up here at the front, as it's turning into pretty much single file, although the trend is going to break as here comes Collard with a run to the inside for 3rd underneath Dylan Thoreau. And Dylan Poteet's actually kind of reeling in Tim Fiegel right now, and Poteet is one of those drivers trying to get into the top 10 in points. Battle on for the 6th position as here comes last week's, or actually 2 weeks ago's winner, Ryan Butcher. And actually I figured this out, that Ryan Butcher actually swept Michigan this season, which I completely forgot about until now. Ryan Butcher won both races at Michigan this season, which was a really interesting feat that I hadn't seen done on this series in quite a while. Right now, that 6 car running in the 6th position, now trying to get to 5th, as he's now got a run underneath Dougie Shears. Joshua Collard takes 2nd away from Dylan Poteet, but Dylan Young is right there heading to the inside, or at least he was trying to get to the inside of Collard. Just didn't get quite enough of a run right there going into turn 3. But Ryan Butcher, he's actually running really, really quickly, as here he is up here to 4th now ahead of Dylan Poteet. Cullen Francis, who started 2nd, he's trying to get his way back up here into the top 10. Tim Fiegel, however, he's been the dominant car all race long so far. Like I said, nobody's been able to make a move on him, at least not yet. But right now, Dylan Young trying to take 2nd away from Joshua Collard, which in turn gives the 8 of Tim Fiegel a bigger lead now. And Ryan Butcher is actually up into the mix too, so too is Cullen Francis. Because that's 3 Fords right there behind the 8 car. And now Ryan Butcher got a run to the inside for 2nd. Ryan Butcher, he's been fast so far here in the early going. But of course you got to remember, if we stay green the rest of the way, when will these drivers have to come into pit road? But now here comes Cullen Francis in the 41, the rookie out of Stewart-Haas. He's right now going for 2nd, but again, the more those drivers behind Tim Fiegel keep battling, the longer Fiegel's going to have that race lead, and that is not what those guys in 2nd on back want. They want to be able to try and take the lead away from the 8 car, but if they keep racing the way they are, the H is going to continue to lead, but that might change as now Francis, he's got to run to the inside. First lead change of the day. Cullen Francis takes it from Tim Fiegel. Let's actually take a look and see where the top 10 in points coming into the race are currently running. Joshua Collard, the points leader, last scored 11th. Carson Gum last scored 19th, now 18th. Dylan Jacobs all the way back to 32nd. This is not what he wants to try and get locked into the chase. Kyle Matthews, let's see where he is. I see him just a little bit ahead. Last scored 27th. Benjamin Miles just a couple of spots ahead of him. Although he was last scored 20th, let's see where he's scored now. 23rd. Alright, then next up is Jake Rogers. He was last scored 30th. Not a very good day for him. Next up, Paul Minnick in the 9. Let's see where he is. 27th. Next up would be Dougie Shears in the 83, who's right there in front of him, though he was scored 27th. Next up, Alex Drayton, who I see is battling side by side with Paul Minnick. Last scored 31st. And then final top 10 driver in points, James McLeod, last scored 11th. So, majority of the top 10 in points are in the back of the field. And a good chunk of the drivers on the outside of the top 10 are up here toward the front. But now let's take a look and see where those drivers from 11th on back are currently running. So 11th in points, Chris Dollarton, last scored 15th. Then it is Dylan Thoreau in the 17. He was last scored 30th. Next up is Emmanuel Hartnett in the 20. He was last scored 4th, actually now the 3rd now. So he's having a very, very good run. Next up, James Shelley was last scored 29th. Then Sean Galligan, who I just saw a moment of. There he is in 24th, last time scored. Dylan Young, who I know is up at the front, but where exactly? Second right now, as Colin Francis continues to lead the way. Then Jay Jefferson, the last of the very close drivers to try and get in. He's last scored 16th. Now for those few long shots, 18th in points, Dylan Poteet, where is he running? 4th, so he's having a very good run. Then DJ Curtis, let's see where he is, who's 19th in points, 19th on track. Then Preston Plord, who's 20th in points, last time scored 12th. And then Zachary Fitzwater, who was 21st in points, dead last. So not the day the 91 team wanted to have. But we're closing in on halfway, and Colin Francis still leads here at Atlanta. So now let's actually do a full field rundown as opposed to just those points drivers. Right now, Colin Francis is your race leader. Second, Emmanuel Hartnett. Third is Ryan Butcher. Fourth, Joshua Sekuli. Fifth, Dylan Poteet. Sixth, Dylan Young. Seventh, Seth Cole. Eighth, Tim Fiegel. Ninth, Rafael Leduc. 10th, Jessica Shelton. 11th, Preston Plord. 12th, Diego Yepes. 13th, James Qualls. 14th, Chris Dollarton. 15th, James McLeod. 16th, Jay Jefferson. 17th, Joshua Collard. 18th, Carson Gum. 19th, DJ Curtis. 20th, Colin Phillips. 21st, Anthony McCurry. 22nd, Sean Galligan. 23rd, Benjamin Miles. 24th, Jake Rogers. 25th, Kyle Matthews. 26th is Matt McIntyre. 27th, Dylan Jacobs. 28th, Alex Drayton. 29th, James Shelley. 30th, Cody Lamas. 31st, Paul Minnick. 32nd, Trent Dunham. 33rd, Charles Sanford. 34th, Dylan Thoreau. And then 35th, Patrick Smith. Currently the bottom 5, Dougie Shears, Jake Baskinger, Zachary Fitzwater, Ethan Hoffman, and Jonathan Zorling. But we're still awaiting these drivers to come into pit road for their pit stops to get tires and fuel. But ever since taking the lead away from Tim Fiegel, Cullen Francis has been dominating the rest of this race so far. In fact, he has led, if I want to take a guess, about 13 laps, whereas Fiegel has led 11. And that's because we keep seeing these drivers from second on back continue to race each other, and that just causes the 41 to keep pulling away. But how about Rafael Leduc? Just a little bit ago he was running 9th, now he's up here to 5th, so he's showing that he's got some speed in that car. And again, side by side for second, not what these drivers should be doing, but Joshua Sekuli going to take that spot. And it's a shame, it's kind of a shame that the defending series champion isn't going to really be able to even try and defend the championship, because Sekuli is 23rd in points, and he came into this race 67 points out of the top 10, but because a lot of those drivers either outside or inside the top 10 are not running too good, maybe Sekuli has found himself in a long shot position to try and make the top 10. Imagine if he could pull that off. That would be impressive. But right now, Cullen Francis still leading the way, and if he leads a few more laps, he's going to get the most laps led bonus points for sure. As Ryan Butcher takes second back from Sekuli, and now Sekuli's under fire from Dylan Young, although Dylan Young didn't carry more speed into the corner. Although, looks like pit stops are finally happening. Cullen Francis, the first one to pull into pit road. Poteet's going to come in with him. Anybody else going to follow suit? There's McCrory, who's in there. Then Thoreau. So only 4 drivers come into pit road first with 12 laps to go, leaving Ryan Butcher right now with the race lead, but he's going to stay out. But Dylan Young, Rafael Leduc, and a bunch of other drivers are going to come into pit road. So to take a gander, I'd say a little over, or actually a little less than half the field pitted here. Half the field still out on the track. But now, hearing the slowing down of the engines right there, here come the leaders. Here comes Butcher in the pit road, followed by Sekuli and everyone else. Does anyone else decide to try and stay out longer? I don't see anybody staying out, so it looks like everyone that hasn't pitted yet are coming in now. And there's Cullen Francis, who pitted first. Who got out of the pits out of this group of cars first? Looks like Dylan Young got out ahead. But I don't think he's going to be able to keep the lead unless he somehow blocked Francis, and he kind of did a little bit. He managed to slow down the 41 a few miles per hour, so now Cullen Francis, if things were to play out, he would be the leader. But let's see about the rest of the drivers. There's Sekuli, who got out of the pits ahead of Ryan Butcher. Does he pull off the big block? Not quite. In fact, he might get overtaken on the outside lane by the 41. And he does. So Cullen Francis cycles back around as the race leader. But we'll see, depending on tire wear, we'll see if those drivers behind him can make a run for the lead over the 41. Right now, Sekuli in second, Butcher third, Seth Cole fourth, and then Poteet in fifth, and then Dylan Young right there. So it looks like it's going to come down to the top 6 here on who's going to win. Although they continue the race side by side back there, again, that is not what they should be doing. They should be working together to run faster than the 41 and then try and battle it out. But maybe they are working on something, because now they actually cut that lead in half. But now Seth Cole going to try and take second away from the 6 car. And again, that's just going to cause the 41 to stay ahead. Sean Galligan looks like he's on the tail end of the lead lap right there, who's in dead last. And that is not what that car or that driver wanted to have happen. Tim Fiegel, while he may get bottom 5, he's still getting 3 bonus points actually. 2 for getting the pole, 1 for leading a lap. So there is an advantage. Whenever you get the bottom 5 and you got the pole or led a lap, you'll still get a point or 2. And then Trent Dunham and Dougie Shears and Ethan Hoffman, I believe right now that is the bottom 5 of drivers who wouldn't get any points from this race unless they led or got the pole like I mentioned earlier. Colin Francis still leading the way as the drivers behind him continue to race each other instead of working together to try and take the lead away from the 41, as Ryan Butcher is going to go by Dylan Young for second. And like I said, if these drivers want to have a chance at winning this race, they need to work together in a draft and catch up to the 41 and then go for the lead. But Ryan Butcher, though, he may have something for the 41. He's reeling him in, closing in on his back bumper, and actually trying to run a little bit of a lower line than the 41. Almost got into him a little bit right there. So now things are about to get picked up here, and now Ryan Butcher, he's going to get a run going into turn 1, side by side for the lead. Ryan Butcher trying to go for his 3rd win this season, and the 2nd in the last 3 races. Like I said, he swept both Michigan races, and now he's trying to go for a win at a different track here at Atlanta. But it's not quite over yet. Still got 2 more laps for anyone behind him to try and make a run for it. The closest ones to him right now, though, are Colin Francis and Seth Cole. And Seth Cole's thinking about trying to take that spot away from the 41. Or is he going to try and draft with him in hopes of gaining ground on the 6 of Ryan Butcher? But we're coming out of turn 4, and the white flag will be displayed. White flag is out here in the Bass Pro Shops 500 at Atlanta. All Ryan Butcher's got to do is just hold them off, and he's home free to win this race. And it doesn't look like anybody's going to be a threat. Coming out of turn 4, 3rd win of the season, Ryan Butcher wins the Bass Pro Shops 500 at Atlanta. Made the right move at the right time when he did, and he pulled off the W. Great job for that rookie in the 6 car. That's his 2nd win in the last 3 races, 3rd overall this season, and 3rd of his career. So great job for that 6 team. But let's look at the rest of the results. The dominant car of the day, Colin Francis, is going to come through with a 2nd place finish. So we had 2 rookies finish in the top 5 in this race. Seth Cole with a great run in that 3rd position. Dylan Young, much needed performance in 4th. That could inch him closer to the top 10 in points. Same with Preston Plord in 5th. And then Joshua Sekuli finishing 6th. Dylan Pote with a strong run in 7th. Jessica Sheldon with a great run in the 8th spot. Rafael LeDuc, first good finish he's had in quite a while, finishing out 9th. And then James McLeod rounding out the top 10. Then there's the rest of your top 20, top 30, and the rest of the field in the bottom 5 were Dougie Shears, Jonathan Zorleen, Trent Dunham, Tim Fiegel, despite getting 3 bonus points, and then Sean Galligan. So, one more race left before the chase begins, and that is the Southern 500 at Darlington. But until then, here are your results, rookie points and regular points heading into the Southern 500, and this is Levi McIntyre signing off.